Let me know when you see it.
Okay.
You see it?
Yep. Facebook.
Okay, here we're going to do the 30-second countdown. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Of course, I'm Doc G. I'm the dad of Dani Perro Show. I want to say she's under the weather tonight, so she won't be available for us, at least right now. She may stop in later and say hi. She really wanted to do this show, so I feel bad about that. But I also have her manager, Chris Tesaurus, next to us. And we have a great guest for you tonight. And who is that guest?
We have the amazingly talented Kayden Gordon, who is just extraordinary with everything he has done and everything he will continue to do. Without further ado, Kayden.
Welcome, Kayden.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time tonight. And thank you, Chris, Dani, and Doc G.
It's my pleasure. So my first question, and I'll let Chris do a question, is, first of all, as a promoter, what made you want to get started in this business? The music business.
The music business is one that is crazy, as you all know. And what got me interested into it was I've always loved listening to the radio, specifically Country 102.5 and FM radio. And so would always call into the radio stations. And I was just so enthused by how amazing the process worked and how it all came together and how they were able to put your voice on the radio all throughout growing up. And I've became very close with a lot of the ones that unfortunately are not even in radio anymore because of how the FM radio is changing and a lot of companies are getting rid of some great people, sadly. But that's how I got started. It kind of sparked interest. And so I just took one courage and I just was like, do you guys have like 30 minutes to chat? So we chatted on the side. Carolyn Cruz, aka Cruiser, who has been on the radio for 31 years and she recently just retired. She spent probably, I think it was about an hour with me, and she told me everything I needed to know and everything about radio. And so I started, to take that knowledge that she shared with me and start a radio show. And then from there, I started doing promotion because a lot of people were like, you're really good at social media. You're really good at a lot of the things that come with promotion. Have you ever thought about trying it? And so I, spent a lot of time gathering radio stations. I have over 10,000 that I service out to for artists. And it just kept going from there.
That is unbelievable. I mean, and I just found out that you are at such a young age and you've already accomplished so much more so than I could have ever thought. And so what made you want to get involved at first in this industry, and how old were you when you started?
I started doing a little bit of podcasting through an app. I don't remember what the app was. Oh yeah, it was called Anchor. And I did a lot of that starting at 13. And then I joined this Facebook group, I think it was. It was a group somewhere on the internet for online radio shows. And from there, I saw that there was such thing as online radio. And at the time, I just knew about 102.5, and that's all I knew about. But I, found out about that. And so I reached out to this program director and, explained that I have no experience, but I would love the opportunity to be on the air and to be a part of the music industry. And it just that's where it came from. It started there, and I got the opportunity, and I started out doing a weekly show, and then COVID hit, and at that time I was still in high school, and everything shut down. We weren't assigned anything, so I had all of a sudden all of this free time to do whatever I wanted to do, and it just opened up so much opportunity. So I sat there and I've sent so many interview requests and all that kind of stuff, and never in a million years did I think it was going to blow up the way that it did. But that just goes to show everyone that's watching that hard work and perseverance goes a long way.
That's very true, and I'll also say, always take advantage of the time that you have, and you obviously did.
Yes.
I mean, and look where it got you. And I have always said that everything in life happens for a reason. And I mean, if COVID had never happened, who knows? Maybe you wouldn't be doing all of this, and like so
Right.
many people. But you you took something negative that happened to you, and you turned it into a huge positive, and that's really what a lot of people can learn for is just take advantage of the time, and you did, and congratulations for everything that you've done so far.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate that. It's been a lot of hard work and a lot of times where it's like, does anyone even appreciate what I'm doing? But hearing that from people like yourselves is just super warm, and it's so appreciative.
Well, the thing is, Kayden, in the business, as they call biz,
Yes, the
um,
biz.
yeah, we're in it, right? We're stuck in it.
We sure
But at the
are.
same time, we appreciate other people that tell us they're happy, they see us, what we're doing, they're out there watching us, supporting us, and being part of that. And that makes it all worthwhile. To me, it does. And I'm sure it does to you too.
It sure does. It sure does.
So, is there any significant things that you can talk about that you're aligning yourself with or becoming part of or working with without disclosing too much information, just giving us a little teaser of something that you're doing, or maybe something that you found out along the way and just said, wow, I didn't know that. And now you can share that.
Yeah, so some things that are going on for me, especially this year, we got a lot of things going on, and I'm trying to learn every aspect of the business, right? Because I feel like one of the things that needs to happen is you need to know every single knowledge. And I've had a lot of people say, you can't do multiple things, you can't do everything in the industry. And that's where I think is wrong in a way, because I like to have a full scope of everything that's going on. So this year I have a lot of goals. I'm learning how to do booking gigs for artists. I've done some songwriting and I've have a couple stuff out there, but this year I'm taking a big leap and I'm learning how to sing, which is that's been
That's
a
cool.
wild adventure. So
That's
I'm
wild.
working with a vocal coach on that. And I'm just like so involved in everything that's going on. I've taken a huge leap in learning how to manage artists. I'm working specifically, very highly involved with a bunch of artists like Christina Alexander and Elliot Simon of Mission Road. They have done so. Christina just joined
So,
us.
Yeah.
That
as you were saying,
girl, talk about, we're in this conversation about commitment and how that works and how that takes a lot of initiative. That girl right there, Christina Alexander, she inspires me every day. I know she says it on other interviews, but I see a huge future in her vocal ability and how it is changing every day. And I have heard the new EP that they're working on, and I've never heard so much of a change for the good in an artist. So I see the work that they're doing, and that is what I want to bring to people tonight. Is hard work, perseverance, and keep on doing, as they say.
you and every not everyone has the correct and right mentality, unlike yourself. You have exactly what most people are looking for. I like the word that you said, perseverance. You always do something even though you're told not to do it, because once you do that thing that someone had told you it'll never work out, it's just not going to work out. It'll work out because the hard work, it's very cliche, but hard work does pay off. And it's also learning too. You're learning how to do all this at such a young age. You have so many other great opportunities that are going to come your way. And also you're helping people too. And it's fun too. Like, you always, like, work is never supposed to be like, a lot of people don't consider work fun, but what you do is your work is like your passion. You love it. And it clearly shows. I mean, just how often you and I have been like communicating, emailing, phone calls. Like, I've never had someone as detail oriented and as up to date as you. I mean, calling, emailing, like rescheduling, texting. Like, we've been doing this. I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and I've come into contact with people who just clearly don't communicate at all. And it's difficult. But again, I learned how to, overcome those challenges. But no, it's a great industry. It's cutthroat, but it's very good.
Working with musicians, I'm sure you find the same thing. There are professional people, there are people that want to be, and there are people that will follow up with you and ask you certain things, like, are people asking for my songs? Are people, and I don't follow that as harassment. I think that shows that you want to make sure, number one, your music's being played, people like it, and you're just trying to get a read of it. And I see that now as a music artist. What can you tell us that you've learned in the business that can help some of these people that are starting out or working on trying to become a musician, going from like the college or high school into being a musician and trying to get into not only gigs, but get their music played on the radio? It's very, very hard.
It is super hard. And one of the things that I would recommend doing is keep following up. One of the things that I personally see that doesn't get talked about a lot is you've got to email them like a couple times and know that we're all busy in the industry. We are busy people. If we don't see something right away, don't automatically assume that we're ignoring you. That is like one of the things that I've seen a lot of artists, like, they think, oh, he's not paying attention to me. That's not how it is. We get, especially, there's people higher than me. You think I get a lot of emails? Think of the people that deal with the big stars, like the Blakes and the Carries and all that kind of stuff. Think on how many people email them on a daily basis. So it doesn't hurt to just keep following up, make those phone calls, step out of your comfort zone, and just do it. If that's what you want to do in your career, and if this is where you want to be, push yourself and drive yourself to put yourself out there.
That's a very good point. Very good point. So let's talk a little bit about your radio show as a podcaster. What significant acts have you seen accelerate through your show, and have you found certain people that are so easy to work with that they help promote you and they carry on after they become a little bit more, say, elevated or famous?
Yeah, there's a lot. I've had the pleasure of having a lot of people from the smallest to like the biggest. One of them, I'm going to go back to Mission Road for a second because, I met them through a mutual acquaintance, and to see where they were when they first started, they had one song called Used to Drink Whiskey, and that's how we met. Ironically, that's the song that introduced us. And so I can attest to this because 2024, we went back and forth to Nashville a total, I think it was like 7 or 8 times. So I've physically seen Christine and Elliot grow as it goes. And I guess this is not really part of the show, but they have been on the show. So I think them being a great example, and me being able to attest that not only from a manager standpoint, but being able to watch him grow is just absolutely amazing. And one of the other things that I've had is great artists. I've had who else have I had on the show? I've had Drew Beldridge, Nico Moon, who had a hit a while ago. We had some great people. I've had the pleasure of doing so many festivals. I'm still involved, and I'm waiting to find out if I'm going to be back this year at CMA Fest and the Country Music Association. And the ISSA, the International Singer Songwriters Association, Tammany Dove does an absolute incredible
Tammany.
job.
Yep.
Tammany goes the above and beyond, and I'm just so excited. We have a lot going on this year. Mission Road's going to be doing the pre-party. We just got a lot of artists that are going to be out there. I know Christine Clifford from Australia is doing the after party, and there's so many great talented people that are going to be doing that. And a lot of you who are watching right now are ISSA members, and I see all your comments coming in. I'm reading them. Hi, Brandy. Hi, Bo. Hi, Wolf. Love y'all. You all are the best. I really do appreciate you. And yes, Bo, I'm going to keep on going. Keep on doing. That is my motto. And I'm taking that from Mission Road song, Keep on Doing. But it's just so relatable and so true to the point where we're getting into that conversation. And I'm just so incredibly mind blown on how much has accomplished and how much is to be accomplished in the coming years.
That's phenomenal. I mean, and I was just looking at your bio, and I couldn't even begin to understand that at such a young age. Now you are on over 150 radio stations. Is that is unbelievable. I mean, that is a huge major achievement, and it's very nice and refreshing because I'm sure you're not the only one doing this. There's millions of young people like yourself, and now you are also looked at to them from their eyes as like a model, as someone who they can look up to and see at wow. So at such a young age, now look at him. So I mean, what you've done and all the great wisdom and advice that you've given and you will always continue to give to people is really refreshing. And it's very good to like I said earlier, like always make your time count, and you clearly are doing that. And it's very fun if you make it fun too. And look at all the people commenting. I mean, this is like one big happy family. Everyone loves you clearly, and we love that you're able to take part in the interview. And I mean, all the awards that you've gotten to, and you're just you're so young. Like you have so many other great opportunities that are just waiting at your door, like just to like hit and to take advantage of. And one question I have for you is, who do you look up to, and who is your ideal like icon? Like I want to be like this person, or do you have someone in your mind like that?
That's a good question. I always want to be myself. I don't really want to change for anyone else, but if I looked up to someone, I guess I always liked Luke Bryan as a person, not only for his music, but I've also loved him as a person. So if I had to choose someone that's in the famous realm that I've never met and that I would like to meet, that I look up to and have always looked up to since day one, I would have to say Luke Bryan.
That's great. And Luke is obviously known by everyone, and
yes,
he's just, and it's you interviewing these people too. Like you're getting even more comfortable when you're the interviewer, and you just it must feel a little weird to be the interviewee because
I've done it before. It's been a while. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've actually done something like this, so it takes a minute to kind of. But I interview every week, 4 times a day. So
Good for
it's
you.
like I'm so used to that, but like when I jump on, but I'm usually good about talking, and I can usually do pretty good. So I'm just super excited. Oh, I love you guys too, Sisters J.
Oh yeah.
That's the other thing we're going to talk about. Some of the artists are so supportive and dedicated to you. Do you find it's because there's so much dishonesty in this business? They look for an honest person. They look for somebody that has integrity, credibility, and a sustainable way for them to promote themselves. Because there's people in the past, I've done this for 28 years, going to 29 years. For the last 28 years, I found so many people in this industry that are so hard to talk to, so hard to get along with, and you're striving for the same thing. You all want to be noticed. You want experience. You want exposure, and you want to learn why you're doing that. Do you find that that's why a lot of people support you, because you're just out there and you're right there in their face and you're so real?
I think that is exactly it. I think that there's so many sharks in the industry that it's hard to find somebody that is just down to earth, very respectful, and very easy to get along with, and very approachable.
No.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the other thing is I got to add to is because you're very professional, as we talked, and
Yeah.
you're very business minded, which is so good to keep the business going, so people can
Yeah.
rely on you in the future, and they know who you are. They know the people you surround yourself with, to many Dove, and other
Mhm.
people like that. That's going to give you so much credibility. Some of the radio friends and radio artists and owners love you, and that's one of the reasons why, because you're so easy to talk with and easy to understand, and you understand one, and it's mutual respect for both of us.
Well, thank you. I've earned the respect of you two too, and I love what you guys are doing. You guys have a great platform. I hope Dani feels better. She's an amazing host. I watch a lot of the interviews that she does with
Thank
my
you.
artists, and she's just an amazing person. So I don't know. You'll probably be listening later, Dani, but hope you're
Yeah.
feeling better. And I appreciate you, and appreciate
Thank
Chris and his hard work being, because it is hard to be a manager. It's hard to keep things intact and be organized and
you.
all that kind of stuff coming from a manager's perspective. So you being able to do what you do is just amazing.
Thank you. Yes. And I've been doing this for about maybe 4 years now, and it's very difficult. And one good thing is that I'm a neat freak, and I'm very detail oriented,
Yeah.
OCD. So I brought the whole organizational aspect to this, and
Mhm.
doing things months out in advance, and scheduling and phone calls, and and I'm up once most people are asleep at night. That's when my brain works the best. I'm like, okay, now it's go time. I'm gonna work. And
Mhm.
but yeah, Dani is, aside from me, have, full disclosure, Dani is my girlfriend, but besides that part, she is extraordinary. Everyone that talks to her, I get tremendous feedback. She really does invest a lot of time in her guests, and she's very outspoken and bubbly, and she enjoys what she does. And just like yourself, like, you have to enjoy what you're doing, because if you don't, it's going to be noticeable, and people will take advantage of that. And but yeah, it's great to have you, and we always want to help each other out.
Absolutely, I definitely agree with that. And there's so many great people like Stuart, who's watching right now. He does a fantastic show himself. I've been on his show, and he does a great job. So all these people, it's just one big great family. I think it's one big family that we have.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I want to say too that to the audience that's watching, and several of my friends that I sent the show to, and in some of the groups, if you have any questions for Kayden, now is the time to comment and ask, because as Chris and I are asking questions and Kayden responses, you guys can ask questions that you may have a question for him and you don't know how to get it. Here's a way to get it. We always say that for celebrities too, because you never know. And we're not saying you're not, but we're just saying some bigger major celebrities, people are afraid to ask questions. And I'm like, well, if you're at a con or a Comic Con or
Convention,
something like
yeah.
that, you can't ask questions a lot of times if there's a big line of people. So now ask your questions if you want to ask something, and you'll get your answer. So I think that's a good idea. But I want to say about your music now. What was your influence in music starting out?
Yeah, so I've always loved listening to country growing up. It's always been on the radio. Growing up, and my parents like music, and they're not in the music industry though, but they definitely liked music, and so that's kind of where the influence of country music came from. Now, starting doing all of this, you kind of get adjusted to other types of music. Country will always be the thing, but I've started to kind of dip into other genres that I've started to like pop and
Good.
rock and stuff like that, because you kind of have to have an open mind. Even though you do one genre, you kind of have to know all the genres and know. I've learned a lot through the music industry and a lot about other artists that I didn't know growing up through the industry.
You have another
Yeah,
question?
no, that's smart. That's a great way to look at it. It's never close your off. Well, never close yourself off to one channel. Always be open to doing everything, because the more open, the more you put yourself out there, the amount of possibilities are endless. And it's good that you're trying different things, and you know you're going to be able, and you're going to be asked by people to do things that you might not feel comfortable doing, but in the
Right,
end, I can do this, and if I do this, this is going to pay off, and
right.
you're going to see everything fall into place when the time is right.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with you on that one, Chris, for sure.
Yeah. So just a list of stuff. I mean, your bio is just wonderful. So we have the Kayden Gordon Show. Today's best country mix is a 2-hour syndicated program playing the best country mix of today mixed into yesterday's country, and it just goes on. So doing all of this stuff, like, doesn't it sometimes get a little like crazy for you and keeping things like intact? How do you like have free time, and how do you do all this? Like, how do you manage that?
Well, that's just the answer. I don't got free time. Because I don't know if you know, but I'm currently in college. I'm at Worcester State University, getting my bachelor's in communications. So I got
Good for
a
you.
full time 5 classes. On top of that, I have the radio show where I do interviews every week. I promote artists. I do everything. So the answer is I don't got a lot of free time, and that's one thing I want to bring up in the music industry. It's super hard to find free time, but when you're serious about an industry, whether it be music, whether it be just anything that you're doing in film, anything creative, once you get to a certain level, there's never no free time. I'm sorry, but like you have to be super committed, and you say what you, and that's another a point I want to touch on if you don't mind. When you
No, go
say
ahead.
you're going to do something, do it. Don't not do it. You have to be committed, and I see so many people say, "Oh, I'm going to do this for you." Now, granted, there's never going to be a guarantee. There's never going to be I can't say, "Oh, Blake's going to do your song," until I know Blake's going to do your song. I'll do
Mhm.
everything in my power for Blake Shelton to, cover a song of yours, but I can't say, "Oh yeah, he'll do it for sure." Like, it's one of those things where there's a difference between actually putting in effort versus not even doing anything at all, because there's so many people that say, "Oh yeah, we're going to do it," but then there's nothing to like back what you're doing.
Now, that's a good point. That's a good point. But I want to ask you, so all the networks that you're on, do you ever do like a show on the network, like say Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, particularly for each network, or do you just do one and then just blast it?
So I do one weekly show that is and edited and produced by one of the people that's doing remote producing for me now is John Graham, And then Kevin Wilbert, who I was introduced to, he's going to start doing a lot of stuff with me. So I'm super excited to have Kevin along. And I want to bring up a team. A team effort is it, because I have people like John and Kevin and Tammy Kukuru, who does an amazing job, Christine West, Emily Anderson, all of the people that make my company what it is, and all of the receptionists over at Answernet. I love them to death. The ladies are really, really good over there. And all of the secretaries, my assistants that do everything for me, super appreciative and super grateful. They are a company that is willing to work within your need. So they actually talked a little bit on Thursday, which we're going to get into, about the Zoom calls that we did last week, and Gene did a huge participation in, and we appreciate that so much. So we're gonna get into that in a minute, I presume, but Christine and Tom from Answernet did a whole little presentation about Answernet and what they do, and it is just absolutely incredible what they are able to provide for artists. So if you haven't had a chance, go back. It's on YouTube and Facebook now, so go back and watch that. We had some great guest speakers come on.
Yeah, and that's another thing I was going to talk about too. Kayden is, I don't know where he found the time, but he found the time to do a Zoom call where all the artists, and whether it's station owners or whatever in the music industry, he got involved in this, and he's putting together this team of people that we can share knowledge from one another, help each other, and again, blossom together.
Yeah, that actually came about because I don't know how much I could share about this right now, but this idea kind of came as like a trial and error of something that's going to be happening in Atlanta in August. That's all I can say. With the ISSA, this is we're gonna kind of do this every month leading up to Atlanta, and we have some exciting stuff. I'm working very closely with Todd Affle and Angela Marie Endemeyer, who was here a little bit ago, and we just got some great things cooking. They are an amazing group of people. Who is the co-director of ISSA, so we want to make our goal with ISSA. Not saying that Timothy hasn't already done a phenomenal job. And if you've never gone to the award show, whether you're nominated or not, go, because it is such a huge networking opportunity. I met, it was funny because when I was in Atlanta, I was the first person to win an award, and everybody's like, oh, that's how it was done. And I'm like, yeah, if you say so. But it was funny because as I was there, I would be stopped every 2 seconds. Like I was doing emceeing, and so when I would walk by, oh, you're Kayden Gordon, I heard so much about you. And every 2 seconds, I would be, it felt like I was like needing security because I was stopped every 2 seconds.
That's kind of scary sometimes, but it's a great feeling because like you're being recognized, but it's also like you have to have your guard up too. Like you don't there's interesting people out in the world that will want to talk to you and email you, and that's the other thing. Like and I know like we get emails from weird different people, and some of them are like soliciting stuff, and you just have to be on top of that. And that's something that technology is a blessing, but it's also not.
Also a curse. Yes,
you have to just the take the good where you can get it, and the ugly sometimes it's just going to be there. But you have a great mentality where you're not going to let anything stop you. It's you're the Energizer Bunny. You keep going and going and going, and that's great.
Right. And the other thing I'm going to touch on too is be careful on who you trust. That is a lesson I'm very much learning right now. Be careful of who you tell things to, and be careful of what you tell people things, because I'm learning rather quickly that you can't trust everybody.
Yeah, and the thing is with future plans, I've learned that too. You really don't want to tell a lot of people your future plans, because they can take them away from you.
Right.
And they can pull the rug right out from under you, and it's not a good thing. That's happened to me several times. I don't want it to happen to anybody, and I don't want it to happen anymore to me. So if people are interested in your services, Kayden, can you go over a little bit of idea of how they can get involved or be part of promotion, or say if they're a station and they want to come aboard like I'm trying to, What is the necessary protocol to go through your email
Contact
and information that would be able to, to contact you in case they're interested?
Yes, so with my company, Kayden, KJG Medium Promotions, Kayden's just great. That's how that came about. Thanks, Christina, for that idea, by the way. So, KJG Medium Promotions, we offer a variety of services from radio distribution, sync licensing, interview bookings. We do social media marketing, gig bookings, everything you could possibly think of, website design. I do it all. And if you want to learn more about any of those informations, I have packages and then single services that I provide. The best way to reach out to me is probably through email, which my email is Kayden, Kayden. If you want to learn more about promotions, you can go to Kayden, Kayden, at kjgmediumpromotions.com. If anybody's interested in learning more about the radio show or airing the radio show for your radio station, you can go to Kayden at KaydenGordonShow.com. That's KaydenGordon. I'm on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, YouTube, under Kayden Gordon, KJG Medium Promotions, and the Kayden Gordon Show, today's best country mix. You can also go to my website at thekayden.gordonshow.com and kjgmediumpromotions.com.
So on the Kayden Gordon Show, the mix, country mix, what kind of artists are they going to hear if they put your show on their radio station? Are they going to hear, like you said, a lot of new stuff, but also a lot of older stuff? How far you go back, and that type of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do a lot of, majority of the show now is independent artists. We've kind of shifted away from a lot of the regular stuff that you can hear on regular radio, because one thing that I've realized is that there's not a lot of stations that air independent music. And one of the things that I've noticed with FM and in today's times, it's changed and evolved, is that they've gotten rid of a lot of live DJs and a lot of people talking. You hear the same song every hour, the same three songs. It's either the Taylor Swift or the one of those. Like, I'm not criticizing on any artist by any means, and Taylor has done an incredible job of getting where she's at today, but no one wants to hear the same songs, like the same three songs every hour.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's that on that.
You're 100% right, and it's great. Like, you who are giving a chance for independent artists to put themselves out there, to make themselves known, and it's heartwarming to know that independent artists are always trying to get started, and it's great. Like, it's harder what they do, but like you and us, we always want to give the due diligence to independent artists, because we know how hard it is, and we know that they want to put out music and songs, and it's time consuming, but it's more of the, like, you can go like the higher level route, but it's going to cost a lot more money, a lot more time, a lot more stress, a lot more anxiety, a lot of crazy stuff. Or you can just do small, and you're making people's days too. Like you might have someone on who would never thought, oh my gosh, like this song, I never thought it'd be big, but once you play it on one of your stations, it's going to blow up, and then people are going to contact them. So independent artists is, I'm very old school. I appreciate that aspect, what you're doing, and just like, Hamilton Radio does too.
Kayden, I just want to mention to you real quick that I posted this everywhere, and my friend Phil Hatton, I don't know if you know who Phil Hatton is. He's actually a musician. He started out with Jeff Lynne from Electric Light Orchestra in the 70s, and he's been with the Traveling Wilburys. He's done the backup vocals and backup music. He's been his sidekick, like a side assistant, probably for over 40 years. And I sent him the show, and he went like this with a thumbs up. So you get a thumbs up from somebody that's professional like that. That kind of makes
awesome.
You feel good,
Yes.
So
yes, absolutely.
That's one thing I'm going to say. Keep on doing it. I know you will anyway.
Yes.
But my thing is with you. what is next for you? Other than music.
What's next for me? Well, I'm hoping to keep going up with what I'm doing, but never forget the people that helped me from the beginning. I never know what's about to come next, but I'm hoping that everything goes on the up and up, and I'm hoping for a great 2025 with people that love and care about me.
Yes.
And that's the important thing, because again, if you make friends now, some of my friends that when I started playing indie music, I'll just say on the radio station in the early 90s when I started this out 28 years ago, I never thought I'd be friends with them still. I mean, they reach out to me all the time and, want to know what's going on. I said, well, I'm still playing the music. Well, no other radio station is playing their music anymore.
Right.
So I want to be the unique thing that sticks out. I want to be that one person or one station that says, everybody says, wow, I can't believe the music you're playing. I can't believe that you're playing a lot of great indie artists. My one friend has a brand new show. And I think I told you about this, but his show is on 5 or now it's on 6 different radio stations and it's on one FM radio station. So when your artist is played on this one show, like your shows, it's now on all these other elements of formats that help promote the artist. And I agree with one person said, indie artists have really stepped it up a notch, have created better songs, better quality. And other people are starting to realize this now. Because when I was talking to people years ago and told them about indie artists, they said, I don't play Indian music. I'm like, no. Independent artists. When you go to a bar, no, but seriously, when you go to a bar and you hear a band or a restaurant or you hear a band or an artist, that's an independent artist. Oh, I didn't know that. I said, yeah, you're supporting the locals in that area to help so they can sell their merchandise and sell their CDs and
exactly
the same. And that's what you're doing. That's all you're doing. You're just sharing and loving.
Right. Yeah. It's funny you bring that up about the people. Sometimes people don't understand the word indie, and so they think immediately Indian music. And you have to explain to them and then they get it. It's one of those things where it's like you got to remember, like, the ordinary average person might not know what you mean by indie music, so you have to kind of introduce them to that. And then I've had a lot of people that didn't know what indie music was until I played a song that they really liked on the show, and they were like, I like that particular artist, or nah, I didn't really like them, but I like this person. And and that's one thing about music in itself, is that music has its own tastes, and everyone's going to like what they like and everyone's going to dislike. And so that's the good thing about music, is that there's so much variety and so much talent out there that there's something for everyone to like.
Yeah, we were also, and I want to bring this up, we were talking about Spotify and a couple of the other formats out there that musicians use to get their music out there. Yep. And I find it extremely hard to get anything to be heard anywhere. I know that's one of the problems a lot of artists have, but how do we overcome that other than maybe using your promotion? Because I know there's a cost to it, and I'm not saying that. I mean, it's well worth it, believe me. For what you get, you definitely get a lot. But the point is, if somebody's struggling out there and they just want to be heard, there's no availability anywhere.
It's definitely a struggle for those that don't really know how to, get yourself out there. The other thing that I think is important to note is get involved with social media. If you let's hypothetically say you don't got money to be able to do what you're doing and you're a broke, starving artist, which that's okay. There's a lot of things with that. And Angie, you just took exactly what I was going to say. Build relationships with the internet stations. Yes. Because once you have a relationship with them, they know who you are. They know your music. They know that it's coming. They know, there's more to it than just sending out a song, right? With the radio, I send out stuff, but at the same time, I personally reach out to them and they know who I am. All the people I do interviews with, the Dani Perro show, Jerry Petito, the Mike Wagner show. What else comes to mind? Galaxy 107 FM in New Zealand. there's so many stations out there and podcasters that love what they do. The David Bradley Show, the Backstage Pass. There's so many of
Right.
them that come to mind that are willing and ready to serve independent artists.
Yeah, and it's similar to what I'm thinking is like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And I always like to think like, what's the one thing that's going to make me stand out, the one thing that's going to make me unique, and apart from hundreds of thousands of other radio show hosts or people like yourself. And the more persistent, the more quote unquote aggressive you are about talking and sending emails out and being in front of people's faces like 24/7, that's going to make you like looked at as someone who's really serious in doing what you want to do. Because if you don't, then they're going to be looking at you as someone who's just doing this as a fun hobby, like a side job or something. But this is obviously it's your main passion. And like you said, you're international. Like you're being listened to thousands of people. Tens of thousands, even millions. Like this is what people need to understand: is never stop in what you're doing. Always keep doing that, because that'll pay off in the end.
Yeah, go ahead, Kayden, if you want to answer that. But I was going to say, I'm going to do a cheap plug. Both of them two shows you mentioned are on Hamilton Radio, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And and she said, someone who is really passionate about their craft. Yeah, you have to be passionate about what you're doing, and that doesn't just go for music. Like, and that's one thing that I personally like to stand out. Like, I do more than just musicians. Like, I've had a lot of actors and actresses on the show. Like, I've had Kayden Karski. It's funny how there's another Kayden. That girl is booming and making waves in the acting industry. I've been watching Kayden Karski's work and what she's been doing. She's won, I think, 28 awards now, if I'm not mistaken, and she's going to be back on the show in February. And she's younger than I am. I think she's 16 or 17, I think. So it just goes to show that there's a lot of great people out there that are young, that are passionate about what they're doing and want to go for their dreams. And that just proves to you that no matter if you're the age of 12 or if you're 62, like, it doesn't matter what age you are, just go and do what you're passionate about.
No, age is just a number. I mean,
That's correct.
Like, there's no, like, I mean, in the generation I grew up is completely different than the one today. And they have the tech side, technology, like podcasting, like all of that. Like, when I grew up, none of that existed. I was born in 97. But no, I mean, it's really fun to see you enjoy yourself. And it's also fun from other people when they see you're really invested into it. Like, and the other thing I've always told Dani when she interviews guests is, you never know who's listening or is watching. Always, like, there's an unpredictability factor that, a huge agent might be listening or tuning in or watching, and they're going to take notice at how well you compose yourself, the questions that you ask, the attentiveness you are, your look, your presentation, and always just be yourself. But worry about those other things too.
Absolutely. And to back what you just said there, I'm going to use an example. Like, I did an event in December with me and I think there was 4 other people. Mission Row was there. And we did it at an event called Christmas for Kids, where Chris Stapleton was there, Bailey Zimmerman, and a bunch of other great artists, Three Doors Down. And so we went to that, and it went so well to the point where without even knowing it, like, there were people that were noticing us, and you don't even know that you're being noticed, because I've noticed, like, one of the things, like, a lot of these people like to disguise that they're watching, but they want to see the real you, so they're not going to come out and be like, I'm so and so's manager. So one of the things that I thought was really cool was that after the event, myself, Chrissy, and Elliot, we were invited to go to a dinner with all the other tour bus drivers that have driven around, like Lady A and the Marshall Tucker Band and all these amazing people, just because they liked us as people.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's just, you just be yourself. I mean, people, once you get to know someone,
Mm-hmm.
and then that person, it's just a person. I mean,
Right.
they have aspirations. Everyone does, but always
Right.
be yourself. Don't be anyone else. Don't be anyone that you're not.
Years ago, my co-partner in writing Bonfire, Anne-Marie Pacerno, we know her. She reached
Sure
out to
do.
me and said, I know this kid, his name's Kayden Gordon. He's going to be huge. And I said, I think you're right when I listen to you. And from then on, like I said, I seen you blossom and get more professional and bigger and stuff like that. But I know, again, I noticed it hasn't gone to your head. You stayed humbled. And I think that's the biggest thing we could take away from this. Stay humble. Don't let it go to your head. And if it happens for somebody else, that's fine. But if it happens to you, it's even better. And that's the way I look at it. I'm not worried about my music getting out there because I got a radio station. I'm going to get it out there,
Right,
But,
right.
Right. I'm trying to say that I want more people to be like you. I want you're setting an example of the way promoters should act, how they should be with other people, how they should treat other people, how they should expect others to be to them, and work it. So again, we're not competition with each other, but we're helping each other. A guy years ago reached out to me, and it was Mark Regula. I'll never forget him. Great artist. Band was called Ivory Tower Project. And what he did was he sent me music from different artists. And he says, I like this independent artist. I like this. And I said, you know what? I like them too. I'm going to start playing them. Now, if he never sent them to me, I would have never known about Anne-Marie Pacerno.
Right.
I would have never known. And that's the thing. You don't know how you're going to find the people. But I tell artists all the time, if you have a friend and the music is good and you're working with that friend, please send the music our way. We'll send it out to others. And if it gets in the right hands, who knows? Something can happen. And if it doesn't, you're still got more exposure. So it's a win-win for all of us.
Exactly.
You have to share, and you do that, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to share. That's the other thing.
Well, unless you're told, like I was years ago, and this is true, Kayden, this is true. I swear, I was told I played the artist too much. And I said, what does that mean? How can you play an artist too much? Like you said, you can play them 3 times an hour, not that, maybe 9 or 10 times a day.
Right.
Whereas another radio station was playing maybe 2 times a day. And I'm not here to boast about my station, but I'm just saying that the reality and the facts are we played them more often. So the fan base went to where they were being played more often so they can request them more often so they can actually listen to them more often. But that
there's a difference.
Stuff.
Right. And there's a difference between too much repetitive and being repetitive. Like, definitely play them so the fans know who they are, but don't play the same 3 songs over and over and over again, because that's just a recipe for losing listeners.
There you go. There you go.
And you have to keep your listeners engaged and keep them focused on what they want to listen to. Like, don't just have music, have talk, have interviews. Like, like a lot of the people that, do radio stations, that, some of them will, have callers. And that's the one thing I've noticed I personally miss, because it's hard as a syndicated host to be able to do when you're on 150 plus stations. It's like, it's super hard to be able to be on live on all of them. Right. So that's why when I've always done every year a New Year's show. I've done that every year. I have callers call in. That's the one thing that I think it makes the show what it is when you get a chance to do that. It's like chatting with people, like get your fans involved. Like if you're doing a game, like, whether there's monetary value to it or not. Like I've seen a lot of people do, like they want to give a winner like a $10 gift card to Amazon, or, just for answering questions. Like, be creative when you're doing what you love.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly. Creativity is the key to success. That's what I've thought a few times in the past. And just like I said, like, what's the one thing that you're going to do that someone else isn't doing? Like I watch a lot of Shark Tank, and the sharks always ask the entrepreneurs, like, what
Mm-hmm.
makes your business different than everyone else's? And a lot of times it's kind of funny. Everyone kind of has the same answer, like, this is what makes my business different. But it really is true. Like, you have to do something that's a billion times different than someone else, because that's how you're going to be looked at. That's how you're going to get, sponsorships, and companies
Mm-hmm.
reach out to you, and all these different avenues that is going to take you to a land with opportunity, and a land with,
Mm-hmm.
making a lot of money, because everybody likes to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Absolutely. To answer your question, I actually do have an answer to that question, and someone helped me realize it. So, I did a mini little Midwest tour with my artists all over Nashville, and a week through, right before I has to say, in August. It was me, Beth Holly, Bailey Perry, Mission Road, and a bunch of artists. We all got together, and basically, we went to this one podcast studio, the David Bradley Show, and David Bradley does an amazing show. He spent, I think we were there for like 6, 7 hours. I'm glad we didn't book any other interviews that night, because we just chatted and chatted. And one thing that he said that really struck me, that coming from someone that's young, I wouldn't have known this, but he said, you are bringing back the old way and the old style of and bringing interviews. Like, when one thing that he said was, you were basically doing a radio tour. You're basically getting what the old promoters used to do. They used to get a bunch of artists together, and they would bring them studio to studio to studio to studio to do interviews. And that stuck with me. And I was like, that's what makes my business different, is the little things like that, bringing back things that I didn't even know was a thing.
yeah.
Yeah, you're like an old soul with an old heart.
Yes.
You understand what it was like, when artists were struggling and having problems,
Mm-hmm.
and dealing with life. But you're there to show compassion. You're there to
Right.
understand and interview them. And especially when I interview people, I do the same thing. I try to give that openness that a lot of artists and people don't get when they're in an interview, because
Right.
it's either because they don't want to give information out, which is fine, or the guest doesn't know really what to ask. And that's why I always leave it open. Even Dani, I taught her that you leave it open for the artist or the guest to give you information so you can feed back from them. And that makes a great interview, because it's very interactive.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I want to add too is, when you're being compassionate, when you're doing interviews and stuff, build friendships and relationships with them. Check in on them, see how they're doing, message them every so often, and just be like, hey, just thinking about you today. Like, the little things like that matter than anything. Just like build connections and stay in touch with people, because if you don't stay in touch with them, you never know what the next big thing could be.
Exactly. That's a great way of really looking at life in general. I mean, it yeah, once you stop, checking in on someone, then you're gonna lose connection. You're not gonna
Right.
respond. And it's always good. And it's also a nice human thing to do, is just
Yes, it
to
is.
let people know you care about them. You're not caring about them just the fact that you're caring about them. Like, you actually
Right.
genuinely want to know how they're doing. How was your day? If they had a death in the family, like, what can I do to make it better? Like, and a lot of that, I think, is lacking in this industry, is people only want to see one thing, and that's the money symbol. They want to just see that
Unfortunately,
come and come and come. And it's great to obviously make money, like talking to
Right.
people, interviewing, but it's more of like experience. It's more the connections. Like, the one thing I learned is the most important thing. I've been doing this for 4 years now with them, with Hamilton Radio, is connections is so important. Going to like networking events, going to all these different events, talking to people. We have a dot card, we have a blink card. Like, I'm like relentless. I say, make sure you show this to this person. You have them swipe the dot card and get all the information out that you
I'm
can.
gonna touch on the dot card for a second. So, when we were in Nashville in December, I was actually I got to spend Christina's birthday with her. And in addition to, I did this whole like hour special about Mission Road, and I brought her to tears. But coming back to the dot thing, I went ahead and got her not only a dot card, but I got her a dot bracelet. So all people have to do is like tap on, and
Nice.
they know Mission Road. So it's I love the dot. I have the card, the dot card, the dot bracelet. I got it all too. I absolutely love it. What a brilliant idea! And if I'm not mistaken, I think the CEO was on Shark Tank for that. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not 100% positive on that, but I thought I saw that somewhere.
I think you're kind of right back. Back then, a couple of years ago, I think he was on. Which is weird.
Yeah, we have. I have the card, the bracelet, and I have that like little adhesive thing that sticks on to certain the phone case or whatnot. But and it's very easy to do. I mean, you can put all your website, your socials on there, your phone numbers, emails, send it out, and you get your word out like that. But but we're gonna be coming to a close
in a couple minutes.
So any other exciting events, people interviewing you want to promote or let our listeners know, and yours too, you're more than welcome to.
Kayden, before you do that, just let me say one thing.
Okay.
And just you can add to this. When an independent artist comes out of a band or is an artist and changed their name or whatever, they're still like us starting out. Nobody knows who they are. And people don't understand that. Just because they were in a major band doesn't mean that they're not going to still play music. Doesn't mean they're still not going to function. They may be out of that band, but they're now on their own as indie artists, local, playing in bars and restaurants. And I want people to realize that an indie artist could be anybody from anywhere. Even a musician could be a musician from movies. It doesn't have to be just music. So I just want to make that point because a lot of people get confused when you tell them who is an indie artist.
Right.
And you don't realize that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's one of those things where you have to keep in mind, like, let's say you were with a well-known band. It's almost like in a video game where you restart your life. Like you get the 3 lives and you're out. You're restarting your whole like venture, and you keep on going with that video game. So people got to realize that it's like it was like a game over, and then you have to restart and keep going through that game in order to build and get the gold of whatever the game might be. But that's the best example that I can come up with.
You're basically speaking my language. I'm a huge video game. I've been playing games forever. So that's yes, I completely understand that. Definitely, for sure. But no, and I mean, this has been great. Thank you 1,000 times for rescheduling and for doing this. I mean, this has been wonderful, and I know people are asking how Dani's doing, and we'll let Dani get well, and she'll definitely be back. But I know most people aren't used to seeing me or Doc G here. She'll get better soon. But Kayden Gordon has been fantastic, and please follow him everywhere on all of his socials. Kayden, do you want to give out your socials?
Give all your stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely will. So you can go on, like I said, Facebook, Instagram. Facebook is Kayden Gordon and the Kayden Gordon Show, Today's Best Country Mix. Instagram is the Kayden Gordon Show. X is, I think, Kayden Show. With X/Twitter, you only could do so much. So I think that's Kayden Show. But the best way to find all of that information is by going to my website at theKaydenGordonShow.com.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kayden. Thank you for being here. We hope you've enjoyed it, Kayden Gordon, and our show tonight. Again, we are filling in for Dani Perro, but I'll be doing a show probably tomorrow night, and probably Thursday night. I'll do shows. So I'm always
awesome.
Yes.
Awesome, and I definitely hope Dani feels better. And if you guys want to have me back to do one with Dani, I'd love to speak with her as well.
Oh, sure, sure.
If we could do a show anytime, Gene, I'm willing to jump on with you anytime. So.
Oh, wow. Okay, sure, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks again for being here, everybody. Thanks
keep me in mind.
Yes, and we'll be back next week for our next guest, and we'll promote that with the time being. Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye.